Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Ryan Bridge today. Great to have your company. It is Thursday, the 29th of January. Coming up on the show this morning, is 2026 the year of rising house prices? A new report says 3/4 of us expect the cost of buying a house to go up this year, but it comes as ANZ downgrades its growth forecast. What's going on? We'll get to the bottom of that. After a rollercoaster career that's never had her far from the headlines, Judith Collins is bowing out of politics. She's with me live in 10 minutes' time. And it's a game changer for parents with young children. A new study says it's now safe to give paracetamol and ibuprofen to children under the age of 1. All ahead. First, here's Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
The first Mount Maunganui victim has been formally identified by the coroner. Max First Key would have turned 16 yesterday. First Key was killed in the devastating landslide last week, which also claimed the life of fellow Pakuranga College student Sharon Mekaniko, who he was on holiday with at the time. Tauranga's state of emergency will remain in place until at least Tuesday, with recovery efforts expected to continue for days as teams of about 70 officers at a time dig through the wreckage, millimetres at a time. Tauranga Mayor Mahe Drysdale says along with its independent inquiry, the council will be putting documents online in order to establish all the facts. He says this includes a number of reports on slope stability. About 30 homes were also evacuated near Bay Park yesterday due to a fresh slip near a reservoir water main pipe. Motorhomes are on the road to regions thrashed by recent severe weather to give those displaced a roof over their heads. Associate Housing Minister Tama Potaka says 10 motorhomes were sent to Northland yesterday. Dozens more will be deployed to other weather-affected areas over the week, such as Tairāwhiti, Te Araroa and Hawke's Bay. Judith Collins says the one thing she'd change about her political career is leading the National Party. The senior MP's announced she's leaving politics after 24 years in a career that included 18 different ministerial portfolios. In 2020, she had a brief stint leading the party and lost the election to Jacinda Ardern. She says stepping up was the wrong move. She knew it was the hospital pass from hell and her husband warned her, but she didn't know who else would do it. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the operation to seize the former Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro wasn't an act of war. Rubio's been facing questions from US senators about the operation, including why Congress was kept in the dark. He says he's confident further military action won't have to be used in Venezuela. Donald Trump is signalling that tensions could soon de-escalate in Minneapolis. The president's told ABC News the federal government wants to finish the job in Minnesota, but can start taking a more relaxed approach. New Zealanders' views on the housing market appear to be shifting from pessimism to cautious optimism. Cotality's Decoding 2026 report shows almost 3/4 of local respondents expect house prices to rise this year. It suggests the OCR being cut to 2.25% has instilled a feeling of stability for rates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
New Zealand have triumphed for the first time in the T20 World Cup warm-up cricket series against India, winning the fourth match by 50 runs after posting 215 for 7. Yannick Sinner is into the Australian Tennis Open semi-finals, his 7th straight Grand Slam last 4 appearance after beating Ben Shelton. 18 Champions League football matches are being played at the same time in Europe this morning. Only 4 of the 36 sides are out of the running for a playoff spot.
3 after 7, you're watching Ryan Bridge today, and a very special welcome to our viewers on 3 Now this morning. Reading the story about fees free, you've got to wonder how the policy got through the boffins in Wellington in the first place. It has, by all accounts, failed quite miserably to achieve its objective. Did we see floods of people charging into lecture halls and studying at university? No. Did we see loads of poorer students benefit? No. What did it cost us? Again, $2.6 billion, $350 million last year alone. That's 1.5 brand new Dunedin hospitals for those who are interested. And this is what it got us. No increase in participation, 230 students from poor schools that were helped. That's 1.3%. a whopping 70% of the kids who had their uni fees paid, that's up to 12 grand a year, up to 12 grand for the year per student. Well, 70% of them were from above average socioeconomic schools. They were the wealthier kids. Did they need it? No. I've always backed to the interest-free student loan idea. You can borrow, not stress about the interest piling up, and then you can work hard and pay it down once you finish. But clearly, fees free was a little too much of a free lunch. Not enough discipline or focus in the spending. Now, the problem is Winston and National have kept this policy alive. They've just changed it to the final year of study. The idea, this will encourage students to actually complete their degrees, to finish them. The problem, it's not doing that either. There's no evidence that it is. So you've got to ask, with such a high price tag, is the whole thing worth having at all?
Herald Now weather.
Good morning. Good news for the North Island today, with a ridge of high pressure keeping the weather settled. Just a little bit of wind and rain for the South Island thanks to a front. So that will bring strong westerly quarter winds to the lower south, with a few spots of rain, maybe some heavy showers this afternoon for Dunedin. It's not too bad for the upper half of the island, but there will be showers and strong moving with the passage of the front, mainly from late this afternoon. Now, the day started well here, but there will be a little cloud around, especially tonight, with possible afternoon showers for Kapiti and for Wellington. It's a lovely, warm and dry day out east. Any remaining cloud clears by midday, with Gisborne knocking on 30 degrees. Hastings, you will hit 30. And apart from a few clouds around and maybe an unlucky shower for Hamilton and Kaitaia, the day's looking good across the upper north.
You're watching Herald Now this morning. Great to have your company. Let's go to Tauranga and to Bay Park. We had a fresh landslip there yesterday. 30 people were evacuated. The word was it was life-threatening, so you need to leave. Now people are allowed back into their homes. Herald reporter Sam Sherry's there for us. Sam, good morning.
Good morning.
So what's the story? What's the situation?
Well, as you said, almost everyone who was evacuated is allowed back into their homes. The main concern was that the water main was being affected by the landslip. Now, the water main was turned off and geotech assessments were made, which meant that almost all of the around 150 people who were evacuated could return to their homes. There are still 3 buildings that aren't deemed as completely safe, including 2 homes. So those will have to go under more assessments over the next day or so before those people who live there can return.
Okay, and what about the pipes, the water main pipes that it was close to?
So the water main was completely shut off so that everyone could return, and we heard yesterday from the council that they were setting up a temporary solution to that problem. I spoke to the council today. They said water is back for everyone in the marae, but they couldn't tell me whether that was from a temporary solution or from the water mains.
Right, okay. And Sam, how do people feel about going back so soon after being given the boot? Does it feel safe, or are they worried about their safety at all?
Well, speaking to everyone who was evacuated yesterday, they were all in quite high spirits. They felt that this was more of a precautionary measure, and that was kind of the key word throughout yesterday, that this was precautionary. People didn't feel that they were too much under threat, but they were quite happy to be evacuated to make sure they were safe. The council were very clear that the slip did constitute a risk to life and to safety, but I think everyone was quite happy to go back to their homes as quickly as they were allowed to.
All right, Sam, thanks for that. Sam Sherry, our Herald reporter at Bay Park, Tauranga, for us this morning. It has just gone 8 minutes after 7. Now, we yesterday talked about the closures of some of those branches within stores for New Zealand Post. Now, New Zealand Post have today actually put someone up to be interviewed about all of the closures across the country. So we'll talk to them in about 7 minutes' time. Before then, we'll get to Judith Collins. She's with us live next.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, we switched to 2 degrees. With Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Paul. Good, thank you.
We done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff. Always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Beacon City Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all? You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university. My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
It is 7:10. After 24 years as a National MP, some of the biggest portfolios and jobs in Cabinet, half the time in opposition, a stint as leader of the National Party, Judith Collins is leaving Parliament, taking up a new role as President of the Law Commission, and she joins me this morning. Good morning, Judith. Talofa.
Oh, good morning, Ryan, and talofa to you too.
Lovely to see you. Now, you've had a night to sleep on this, because obviously you made it all public yesterday. Did you sleep well?
I had a lovely sleep last night, and I woke up bright and early, and that means I can come on your show.
No regrets? It feels like the right thing to do.
Oh, I have been, I'll tell you a little secret. You're not allowed to tell anybody. I've been thinking about that valedictory speech for at least the last year.
We were speaking last year about you had the vertigo issue. You had, it was quite a serious. You ended up in hospital and taken from Parliament. Did your health at all, force your hand, make you think twice about the intensity of the job?
Well, the great thing is I seem to now, touching wood and everywhere else, be totally good at the vertigo. And but I think, really I've been thinking about it for over a year, but it certainly is important that, I look at the fact that it's 24 years. Seriously, I've had the most fantastic last term, great to go out in the high, and I just thought I've got more life than the old girl yet, but you know what? I don't want to be doing politics anymore because I've just done it to death.
When did the eyebrow become a thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I've always been able to raise one eyebrow, so it seems to be like, I don't know. It just does it. It seems to have a little life of its own. It may have a little, gremlin in there.
It's certainly got its own memes now. You can be sure of that. What will you miss most about the place, and who will you miss most?
I miss the people, I think. And, we actually, despite all the argy-bargy that goes on in question time and that it's actually generally a very collegial place. And, I just think people need to realise you don't have to hate people because you don't necessarily agree with them. You may think their politics is stupid, but no need for you to hate them. And I think, I personally enjoy my work a lot, but I also know at 24 years, I just don't know that another, 12 years in opposition, 12 years in government anymore is going to be better. I quite like the symmetry. My birthday's on the 24th, 24 years, it looks good to me.
Time to go. Now, you said yesterday that your biggest regret was doing the leadership thing, but that doesn't mean you did. There's the eyebrow. But that doesn't mean you didn't. But that doesn't mean you didn't want it. We spoke to John Key yesterday. He said you were were gunning for that. You wanted that job.
I think that's what he always thought. And of course, I put my hand up every now and again when their opportunities were primarily just to annoy people. So, well, I just don't like being told, go and sit in your box, little girl, it's not me. So just for fun, I would, oh yeah, okay, I'll put my hand up. And at that time, to be frank, I was, and I got called to say, could you, by Amy Adams and the late Nikki Kay, can you do this? You've got to do it. And I'd just been saying to my husband, oh, it's great, I'm not the leader. Imagine if I was during this time. It was the COVID time. And the next thing I was, and it was, I have to say, it was soul destroying. It was really hard. But I am proud of the fact that every day I got myself up. I never, ever missed anything. And I just kept on going the best I could. And we did significantly better than we could have done, I think.
A lot of your portfolios, you surrounded yourself by men in uniform quite a lot. Not only did you marry a police officer, Minister of Defence, Minister of Police, was this all just an excuse to get close to them?
You are so naughty. No, I really like that life of service. And I've always found the police, the corrections, the military, these people, customs people, they are people who serve, and they have, I guess, to discipline in their approach to work, which I personally enjoy. And I've always found them very respectful and well-mannered. And Ryan, it's one of the things I always liked about you. You're always well-mannered, and I actually think that's a good thing for everybody.
Finally, there's a lot of opinions out there about new MPs that are coming into Parliament and whether they are quality MPs, whether they're capable, competent MPs. What would your advice be to anyone who's just starting or just started out in politics?
Okay, so number one, don't take it all too personally. We can have a bit of fun in the chamber, baiting chamber, and then most of us get along very well outside of it. I think also don't get too hurt by people being mean on social media, and learn how to block and delete. Block, delete anybody on social media who's a troll and is coming after you and is rude. Just do that and enforce some manners towards yourself. That's my advice.
Judith, great to have you on the show. I'm sure we'll have you again before you leave, and I'm sure we'll have you again when you're with the Law Commission too. But I've appreciated your candour and your time over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Say bye.
That's Judith Collins. It is 16 after 7 now. If you've got feedback for us this morning, flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll speak to New Zealand Post about the closure of 140 of their urban retail partner stores. And then a report out today says 3/4 of us think that house prices will go up this year. So why is ANZ downgrading theirs?
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can have what she's having.
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
You're watching Ryan Bridge today. It's 19 after 7. Great to have your company. Now, Trump overnight has said some quite alarming things about Iran. This after, of course, the operation in Venezuela. They're actually taking the same warship. The USS Abraham Lincoln is en route right now to the Middle East. It's going to be doing some drills, taking a bunch of other ships with it. A US military build-up starting to happen in the region. And Trump has tweeted or truth socialed whatever overnight about this, saying hopefully Iran will quickly come to the table on a nuclear deal and negotiate with us. Otherwise, they will pay the price. So we'll keep a watching brief on that. New Zealand Post is closing more than 140 of its urban retail partner stores around the country this year, meaning you'll no longer be able to find services at some places like superettes, pharmacies and bookshops, though some of them will stay open. This is, of course, as we're not sending as much mail. Joining me now is Sarah Sandoval, who is General Manager Consumer at New Zealand Post. Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Now, a lot of people don't like this. Because how did you make the decisions about which ones to close and which ones to keep?
Well, the first thing I want to clarify is that we are no longer going to offer our services in 142 retail partner stores, but there's no closures here. And that's really important because these stores are they're a really important part of the community and they're going to continue to operate. So we just won't have our services in those locations. So I just want to clarify that.
Oh, yeah. So the dairy or the shop won't close, of course.
That's absolutely correct.
But your services taken out of them cuts a lot of their revenue out because they get customers coming who buy other things.
We do acknowledge that this is a change for some of our partners, and look, we're no stranger to change. For New Zealand Post, we've been going through a massive change with the significant declines in mail and huge growth in e-commerce and parcel. So our business is really shifting towards parcel sending and parcel collection. And this is about responding to that, reshaping our network so that we can meet customers where they are and to ensure that we are positioning ourselves for the services that they need from us.
How did you decide which ones to keep, which ones, of the partners? Because I spoke to a bookstore owner in Karori. There were two, now there'll be one. The bookstore one's gone, but the supermarket, the petrol station one is staying open. How did you pick winners?
So really careful analysis of customer data, where people were going. So some of the things that we considered in these decisions were, what is the travel distance? What are the services that people need? And also just really understanding that local knowledge. Now, in the case that you mentioned specifically, this was one of our toughest decisions. And the reason it's tough is because we've got two really great partners. They're 700 metres apart, the two that you're referring to. And the reason why we decided with the other partner is because they have the full range of services. So they have a box lobby. They offer bill payment and NZTA transactions that we do as well in those sites, as well as sending. So we were thinking about the full suite of services that we offer. Yeah,
so not necessarily because they had more people going to one or the other, it was the range of services that they had on offer.
Yeah, I mean, look, we also looked at volume, absolutely looked at volume and where customers were choosing to go, and we were leaning into where customers were already choosing to go.
There was talk yesterday of, look, are you basically a parcel company now, like, essentially, aren't you?
Mail's still very important to us, and as long as Kiwis still want to send mail, we'll be there to deliver it. But there's no denying that the bigger part of our business is now in parcel sending. I mean, in our retail network specifically, it's now around 70 to 80% of our revenue, just to give you context.
Then people say, well, why don't we just sell you? Because why does the government need to own a parcel service?
Well, that's really above my pay grade there.
I thought it might be. Sarah, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Sarah Sandoval, General Manager at New Zealand Post Consumer Division. It is 7:23. After a stretch of falling prices and buyer caution, there are signs confidence is finally creeping back into the housing market. A Cotality report out today examines expectations. This is for real estate agents, those working in the property sector, and 3/4 of them expect that we will see increase to house prices this year. However, ANZ's just downgraded their forecast. Nick Goodall is Head of Research at Coachella. Joins us this morning. Nick, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
So what does this tell us? What does this tell you?
Yeah, I think it's a backup of what we'd start to see at the end of the year, where we heard there were more people coming to open homes. Those people in the market were feeling more confident about their prospects this year. But I think it's heavily dependent on where the economy goes. Are we going to see that growth to GDP come through? Do we see the labour market strengthen and unemployment drop? If those things happen, then we do expect that confidence to flow through to the property market as well.
And what about ANZ downgrading their growth forecast for 2026? They were predicting we would hit 5% growth this year. Actually, they've pulled that back to 2%.
Yeah, I think that reflects our surprise inflation figure that we got last week for Q4. Inflation a little bit higher than expected. If that's more persistent, then there's a chance that we see the OCR rates come up sooner rather than later. The survey was done before we got that inflation data. So I think that's one thing that might, drag down slightly this confidence that we saw at the end of last year. We still expect the OCR to hold where it is until later in the year. So, the Reserve Bank won't panic on that result, I don't think. They're looking at medium-term inflation, not immediate. So I think they'll still be cautious about this one. But yeah, that's probably part of the reason ANZ have brought that back. There's expectation that interest rates don't stay quite as low as previously expected. That means that mortgage affordability isn't quite as good as we thought last year.
Nick, what about the election and the fact that we could potentially have a change of government? That change of government will bring a capital gains tax. Does that affect the market, or does the election period cool the market for a while?
The main thing an election does is slow down the activity, the transactions. I think generally the direction of the market in terms of where values are going won't change too much unless there are some huge policies that we expect to happen. And generally, if there's going to be a change in government, or there's a chance of a change in government, if it's looking like National will still lead the government, I wouldn't expect too much change in the trajectory of values. Yes, if it looks like we're going to get a switch to a Labour/Green-led government, and there are going to be some more policies around housing, then yes, we might see that temper expectations and pull people back a little bit. But that'll be a big what if, and we'll see how that campaigning goes to see how that plays out.
Nick, appreciate your time this morning. Nick Goodall from Coachella, Head of Research there. It is 7:26 to the UK now, and the Anglican Church has its first female archbishop.
Cheers, thank you.
Former nurse Sarah Mullally is her name, officially confirmed this morning at the service at London St. Cathedral. 63 years old, Mullally now leads the world's 85 million Anglicans and replaces Justin Welby, who stepped down a year ago amid a fallout over an abuse scandal. There's been a bit of a backlash from conservative members of the Anglican Communion, particularly in Africa, with the Church of Uganda describing it last October as sad news. Catholics are way behind. Obviously, you can't go anywhere in the Catholic Church if you're a woman, basically, hierarchy-wise, that is. Now, I've got a couple of things to share with you this morning. One is a little economic update. A November surprise from the jobs numbers. This was released yesterday. Our monthly employment indicators, they were flat for December. That was expected. That's fine. However, they have revised the November number, not down, because usually these numbers are overstated to begin with, but they have revised the number up. So from 0.3% to 0.5% jump in jobs numbers. Biggest increase since April of 2023. You basically have on the graph either zero or declining numbers for the last year, and then you suddenly have a 0.5% boost for November, which is apparently another sign that the economy is coming out of its slump. Now, also yesterday we had news from IKEA, and if you're a ma and pa small store, retail store in New Zealand, you'll probably hate this, because IKEA has come out and said that big multinational, international chain come to New Zealand, hiring extra staff, an extra 85 people, and they're going to pay them the living wage, which is $29 an hour. And that is a sort of a union invented thing, but it's basically, they say, the amount that you need to be paid in order to have a decent standard of living. Now, the union has come out after this and said that Kiwi retailers need to step up. you need to match the multinational pay and conditions that are being offered to other workers. Now, I am sure, and I'd love to hear from you this morning, flick me an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. I am sure that if you could, you would. And it's all very well for IKEA, but they have massive economies of scale, which smaller businesses in New Zealand wouldn't be able to take advantage of. So anyway, we'd love your feedback on that. ryan@nzherald.co.nz. Garth is here with Business Next. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
The first Mount Maunganui victim has been formally identified by the coroner. Max First Key would have turned 16 yesterday. First Key was killed in the devastating landslide last week, which also claimed the life of fellow Pakuranga College student Sharon Mekaniko, who he was on holiday with at the time. Tauranga's state of emergency will remain in place until at least Tuesday, with recovery efforts expected to continue for days as teams of about 70 officers at a time dig through the wreckage, millimetres at a time. Tauranga Mayor Mahe Drysdale says along with its independent inquiry, the council will be putting documents online in order to establish all the facts. He says this includes a number of reports on slope stability. About 30 homes were also evacuated near Bay Park yesterday due to a fresh slip near a reservoir water main pipe. Motorhomes are on the road to regions thrashed by recent severe weather to give those displaced a roof over their heads. Associate Housing Minister Tama Potaka says 10 motorhomes were sent to Northland yesterday. Dozens more will be deployed to other weather-affected areas over the week, such as Tairāwhiti, Te Araroa and Hawke's Bay. Judith Collins says the one thing she'd change about her political career is leading the National Party. The senior MP's announced she's leaving politics after 24 years, in a career that included 18 different ministerial portfolios. In 2020, she had a brief stint leading the party and lost the election to Jacinda Ardern. She says stepping up was the wrong move. She knew it was the hospital pass from hell and her husband warned her, but she didn't know who else would do it. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the operation to seize the former Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro wasn't an act of war. Rubio's been facing questions from US senators about the operation, including why Congress was kept in the dark. He says he's confident further military action won't have to be used in Venezuela. Donald Trump is signalling that tensions could soon de-escalate in Minneapolis. The president's told ABC News the federal government wants to finish the job in Minnesota, but can start taking a more relaxed approach. New Zealanders' views on the housing market appear to be shifting from pessimism to cautious optimism. Cotality's Decoding 2026 report shows almost 3/4 of local respondents expect house prices to rise this year. It suggests the OCR being cut to 2.25% has instilled a feeling of stability for rates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
New Zealand have triumphed for the first time in the T20 World Cup warm-up cricket series against India, winning the fourth match by 50 runs after posting 215 for 7. Yannick Sinner is into the Australian Tennis Open semi-finals, his 7th straight Grand Slam last four appearance after beating Ben Shelton. 18 Champions League football matches are being played at the same time across Europe this morning. Only 4 of the 36 sides are out of the running for a playoff spot.
Herald Now Weather.
Good morning. Good news for the North Island today, with a ridge of high pressure keeping the weather settled. Just a little bit of wind and rain for the South Island thanks to a front. So that will bring strong westerly winds to the lower south with a few spots of rain, maybe some heavy showers this afternoon for Dunedin. It's not too bad for the upper half of the island, but there will be showers and strong winds moving with the passage of the front, mainly from late this afternoon. Now the day started well here, but there will be a little cloud around, especially tonight, with possible afternoon showers for Kapiti and for Wellington. It's a lovely warm and dry day out east. Any remaining cloud clears by midday, with Gisborne knocking on 30 degrees. Hastings, you will hit 30. And apart from a few clouds around and maybe an unlucky shower for Hamilton and Kaitaia, the day's looking good across the upper north.
Right, it is 27 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Very quickly, this is RNZ had their poll results out. Was that Monday? Anyway, whenever it was. They've asked a whole bunch of other questions, including about the treaty. And, we had this massive debate in New Zealand about the treaty because the Treaty Principles Bill last year, which was shut down, one reading and that was it. And one hit wonder, and it's gone. But the question was, does the treaty have too much influence on government decision making? And the numbers might surprise you because certainly the way it was portrayed in the media was that this is evil and racist and horrible stuff. Well, the question, thinking about the influence of the treaty, has the treaty had too much, about right, or too little influence on government decision making? Almost 40% of us think that it has too much. That was the most popular response. The treaty has too much influence. 31% of us thought it was about right. 17% thought it had too little. And 11% of us just didn't know. So, yeah, just interesting the way it was couched and the way that people are thinking. 26 away from 8 now. It is time to talk business thanks to our partners Forsyth Barr. Looking first at the US markets, the key S&P 500 index broken through a threshold above 7,000 for the very first time this morning. Joining us is host of the Herald Now business show, Garth Bray. Garth, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So we got records in gold, we got records in silver, and we got another new record for the S&P.
Yeah, and these are just numbers right at the end, but what's behind the numbers is probably what's important. This is the index that tracks the top 500 US listed companies. So if it's popping through that sort of number that traditionally it sort of shows a bit of pressure anytime it's hitting a sort of a 6,000 or 5,000 or whatever. And I guess the predictions are it could build, quite a lot, 8.5% I think Goldman Sachs is predicting for the year. So reasonable returns if you're still in that market. I guess it's showing that all of that crisis talk around Greenland and whether there was going to be massive impact on international trade as a result of the smack that was being talked about, potential takeovers there and so on, that's been diluted now. And people are now looking a little bit more at some of the financials. We've had some good numbers out of a Dutch company, ASML, that makes equipment that makes semiconductors, computer chips rather.
They got good orders.
They got good orders, so their price went up 5%, and you've got Meta, Microsoft, and I think Tesla reporting later today. Everyone's expecting big things from them. So there seems to be just that bit of confidence back in, even though, as you point out, like the metals, gold and stuff are still doing gangbusters because people are a little bit worried. We had some interesting remarks from Trump, I think, in a rally just recently talking about he was asked whether it was a worry on him that the US dollar was dropping. Oh, no, it's great. And that was a cause for concern. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, rushes out and says, no, we're running a strong dollar policy. We're not going to try and help the Japanese yen out. Don't worry about that. Sort of talking things.
So coming back to this, so S&P is up, gold is up, all those precious metals and stuff are up. Is this like the beginning of the end? When everything's going so well.
It's when the party's going well, it's time to leave. It's one of my party rules. Well, we might find out in about an hour when Jerome Powell gives us his on the US economy after the 2-day meeting that their Federal Open Market Committee does before it sets a rate. It's probably going to hold steady, but his remarks will be really interesting around just the state of the economy, what he sees, what they see. I guess as well whether he's planning to stick around and be a bit of a fly in the ointment.
Yeah. Right, back here, Treasury is calling a bit of BS. These claims that the gentailers didn't have enough money to invest in new generation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Treasury says, nah, BS.
Yeah, so this is a little aid memoir, as they call it, and this is a little document that's fallen out of the OIA system thanks to some work by our friends in the business desk team there. Taking a look, this was, remember last year we had that big Frontier Economics report that said, oh, look, the big players are starved of capital, they can't invest enough, and you need to do, and Nicola Willis said, pull out your plans from the drawer, come and see us, we own half of these companies on behalf of the taxpayer, get in behind us. No, they're saying the balance sheets of all of them are there. They say they could finance large projects out of 2 years of internal cash flow, even after paying dividends, and also potentially have access to sort of 500 million to $1 billion in credit. Genesis, they're saying, maybe could, smaller balance sheet, and that's just increasing some talk that they may look at a capital raise sometime this year, which markets are always interested when a big player is going to the market saying, hey, here's an opportunity to invest and give us some of your money.
All right.
So a bit of a flag there.
Indeed. Garth, I keep saying you're the host of our new business show.
Yeah.
Can we tell people when it starts yet or not yet? Or...
Coming soon, they say in the movies. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Just like to screens near you. Because like Spider-Man 2.
We haven't really talked about it yet, but so people know, it's before this show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and a reason to get up early and just be ready for you, basically.
Yeah. No, but it's good because people can get in there, get the business news, everything they need in the space of like 30 minutes.
Bit more depth, okay? So we'll go right from the top end of the chain, the boardroom, right through to decisions you might be trying to make around the kitchen table. Who are the players? What are the numbers? You're already doing a pretty good job here. We're just going to give you a bit of help.
It just needs to be better, clearly.
Extra. Always better.
We had a photo shoot yesterday, Garth and I, and actually I took some pictures and some video. Did you see those?
Oh, I wondered what you were doing on the couch.
Yes. No, he was quite happy to be posing.
Just doing my job.
Like it was Fashion Week or something. Garth, thank you. We're looking forward to when the show starts. Garth Bray, who is the host of the new Herald Now business show. It's coming your way soon. It is 21 minutes away. That was thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar. Greyhound Racing New Zealand says the government's racing ban, this is a proposal at this stage, is unjustified, hypocritical and lacks evidence. The ban is slated to take effect by the end of July. Select Committee will be hearing submissions on this today. Jean Fahey is Canterbury Greyhound Racing President and long-time trainer, joining us this morning from Wellington. Jean, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
What will you be telling the Select Committee today?
That the ban is unfair and we're good people, that we've been treated like we're criminals with what's happening, and that we need some compensation if this is going to go ahead. That's what we're saying. And I think you'll find that 85% of the speakers today, well, not today, but over the 2 days, are within the Greyhound community.
Jean, who are the people behind you?
I have got some owners. I've got from Maunganui, and I've got Katie Wiley, who is one of my workers. She's also speaking. I've got my granddaughter, Kelly, and we've also got Leah, the retired Greyhound, here with her mum.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you on the show this morning. Can I just ask, you mentioned you've got a retired Greyhound there. In 24-25, 17 Greyhounds died, 800 dogs were injured. Dogs like the one that you're showing us. What do you say to the public who find that abhorrent?
That the injuries, the 700 injuries, that would include a broken toenail. So the majority of those injuries are minor and would be any sports person. We all get if we play sport. Yes, there was some deaths in the season, and we don't like that at all. But a dog can also have serious injuries at home or on the beach or anything, and also may need to be euthanized. So, but they do what they do. They love to race.
Jean, have you spoken, or has Winston spoken to you guys about the ban?
We have not heard a peep from Winston, and a lot of our participants have tried to speak to their MPs, and MPs have just ignored us. We have spoken to a few MPs, but it's majority don't want to speak to us. And Winston has not spoken to Greyhound Racing New Zealand or any of the participants since he became racing minister, which is really upsetting for us.
Is this your job, your full-time job?
Yes, and Katie's our full-time worker. We've got three full-time workers actually, and a couple of part-time workers. From
July, what happens? You're all out of work.
Well, there will still be the dogs to be looked after. So we do need some money to pay for that, because like Dave and I, we would have probably 40 to 50 dogs left. We're going to possibly employ staff still at that point, and we'll have no income. So the government's going to have to consider how we're going to look after those dogs and the welfare of the dogs. If they're not paying us, why would they pay somebody else when we know the dogs and we've always looked after them?
Jean, how much compensation do you need, and for how long?
Well, it'll be for the dogs, to look after the dogs. We would probably need a daily rate, a commercial daily rate, which would be fair, like any other kennels, boarding kennels. But also we need to look at what it has cost, what the industry is losing in assets, etc. We personally have $40,000 worth of semen, which has no value now. We've spent that money, and we'll get no return. Well, unlikely to get a return on that. And then all our equipment that we have, it's got nil or minimal value now. And what we've spent on probably equipment for our dogs, including lasers, mats, hydro equipment, etc., like that. So it would be over 100,000.
Can you not sell the $40,000 worth of semen offshore, Jean?
We've been trying to work with Australia to do that, and there's a difficulty, even though the semen's all from Australia, it's a difficulty getting it back into Australia. So it's been worked on, but then also you've got to realise that semen going back into Australia, we want to sell it, we'll be competing with the actual stud market, and will they be happy with us sending it back there at a discounted rate? I don't know. So there is issues sending that back to Australia.
Yeah, I can understand. They wouldn't want the market being flooded with, semen that's come up from over here. Jean, appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck with the Select Committee today.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Jean Fahey, Canterbury Greyhound Racing. It is 16 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Coming up next, the state of emergency will remain in place in Northland until next week. We'll head north for the latest on the storm damage. And then Auckland Airport is celebrating its 60th birthday today. It's processed almost 500 million travellers in that time. So what does the future hold? The airport boss here after 8.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, Sarah got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Welcome back. Let's go to Northland now. 5 houses have been red stickered by the bad weather, and some locals are still being affected by that massive slip at Helena Bay. Northland local democracy reporter Susan Botting has been covering the wild weather up there and joins us now. Susan, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Always good to see you. Tell me we'll start with those houses that have been red stickered. Are there likely to be more, and where are they?
The red stickers are mostly at Oakura, a coastal settlement in the northeast of Whangarei, and there's about 34 houses that have been checked out with what's called rapid assessments, and they've been red stickered, yellow stickered, and white stickered. At the moment, that's about the number that have been checked out for now.
And what about the slip? The Helena Bay slip. Any idea what we spoke actually to the mayor yesterday? He said it could be sort of 12 weeks before that's all sorted.
Yes, so that slip's quite massive, and it's actually only affecting around about 100 metres of road, but it's not what you see at your feet. It's everything above it. So it covers around about a hectare, rugby field in size, and quite a lot of work. After Cyclone Gabriel, everybody's big is big. So doesn't matter whether you've got one tree blown over in the storm in your house, the whole community taken out. Everybody's big is big. So for the people that live out in that community, as you heard yesterday from the mayor, around about 1,500 people, this really matters to them. And the only other alternative road out is effectively a goat track from the past, glorified into, it's quite a dramatic road. It's possibly the only road in Northland that I've ever felt like this is like the death highway in Peru. It's quite scary in the little part of it. Yeah. Oh, I don't look over the edge, but they're doing a really good job with traffic management there. They've got lights on a scary bit, and quite an incredible experience being out there, listening to the harrowing stories. I'm really amazed that nobody was washed away. The stories I've heard are incredible. People wading through chest-height, hungry, raging water in the dark to get to safety with their family and their big dog, and then one of them getting in the boat to go around and wake up this flooding, that sort of task. Another guy, he went in the water and clung in a human chain to his partner and nephew, and she was saying, don't leave me, and he said, I'm going nowhere. If you go, I'm going. People woke up in the morning to building material crashing on the walls of their houses in one little place. Their cabins they lived in washing away. So we've got about 90 people displaced up here and living in marae. So we've got 10 camper vans heading up to Northland. The government's laying on 10 camper vans to displaced people. At this stage, it's 10, but there's going to be more in due course. They're part of 50 going around the whole country. And so that's a really innovative idea because there's no emergency accommodation out there. This is a place of wrinkled green hills and stunning landscapes and roads that are a bit like a human. Sometimes they have the flu, sometimes it's just the cold. They're not like the 4-lane highway coming from Auckland to Northland. It's a challenging place, stunning place, and quite an interesting demographic place. Quite a lot of mixture of different sorts of people. So it's been quite a fascinating journey and quite a harrowing journey. I think the marae up here are doing a great job, Ngāti Wai Marae, and there's a series of community recovery hubs being set up over the next few days. These are like the one-stop shop spots where those that can help will rock up for a period of time on a certain day, and the community can come to those people. Because, you know, getting out of this place, initially, everything was cut off, but we've got the goat track in the south now. And to the north, it's actually the old Russell Road. So many of your viewers will know Old Russell Road. And it's sort of the original Old Russell Road to get to the gorgeous Bay of Islands. And so in the northern end, the bridge was washed out. So initially there was no access anywhere. But so the lessons of Cyclone Gabrielle have really paid off this time in the marae because they've got Starlink, they've got solar power.
They're prepared, Susan. Prepared. Hey, I want to ask you just quickly because you're the one that knows everything in Northland. Are people thinking yet there are some areas where we wouldn't buy a house, or are some people thinking there are some areas where we might have to abandon soon?
I think at this stage it's probably too early to find people thinking along those lines. It's really about life, getting through life today, still in the response phase. We haven't gone to recovery yet. I think what you're talking about is part of a wider story for the whole of New Zealand, really, and globally. Insurance companies might start saying, well, the premiums are going to be very high or such like, but that's a very important question that New Zealand needs to face.
Susan, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks as always. Susan Botting, Northland local democracy reporter with our wrap from the far north, 8 minutes away from 8 now. Just interestingly, you had it announced at the end of last year, though there's some news around about it today, in Westport, South Island, AA has decided that they will not issue any new insurance policies for homes, businesses in that area because of the risk of flooding. If you have existing cover for a house, that will stay in place, but they're not for now issuing any new cover because of the risk of flooding, which is a pretty massive development, you would have thought. Right, demand for ambulances was the highest on record last year. This is according to stats from St John. There were 700,000 call-outs, a 30% increase over 5 years. And on ZB this morning, I spoke with Mark Quinn from the Ambulance Association. Started off by asking if this increase is in line with population growth or if there is more going on.
No, it's over and above. There's a number of factors in it. There's no single one factor, but it is population growth. We've got a tsunami of over 65 population coming. You've got services in certain areas like rural and even provincial struggling to get into their GP or actually have a health service at all in those areas. And there's a financial cost because obviously trying to get in that costs money. Even if on got a card, a community service card, it still costs.
What percentage of those call-outs are actually needed?
Well, that's a good question. So the majority of, and we would say probably my information is over 80% of them are at the lower end or low acuity patients, and those are patients that could probably be seen by a GP or GP type service, and so sometimes the ambulance service for is the only health service in a particular area, so that's why sometimes the service is used almost like a pseudo GP because that's the only way they can access health.
That's not great. So what do we do about it? Well, I mean, apart from trying to fund more GPs, in the meantime, for you guys, the workload, I imagine, is a little unbearable.
Yeah, it's constant, and it's it's what we're there to do, but it has grown from it's been 25 years in the ambulance services where we were only really responded to emergency calls, and now we've seen a complete change where it's dominated by the low acuity GP type patients. And that's, even though there's a number of initiatives, and Hate Hone St John have tele-triage, remote triage, we have paramedics and ambulance officers, more skills and medications. We've got other initiatives, community-based initiatives in there, but they're not keeping pace with the demand. And there still is at times no national strategy between ambulance service, primary and secondary care health services, and there probably needs to be more work done in that area. It does require staff at times, it requires experienced practitioners, but yeah, it's going to continue to be a challenge going forward.
That was earlier on News Talk ZB. I was speaking to, from the Ambulance Association, Mark Quinn. Time now is 4 minutes away from 8. Time for a rural roundup with Business Desk senior journalist Riley Kennedy. Riley, good morning.
Very good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good to see you. Let's start with, you've got a piece out on supply of beef in the US and the market. A few things happening in the market there. What's the story?
Yeah, there's sort of like an age-old conversation in New Zealand that goes on. We've got too many processing plants. It doesn't really matter of time until another plant in New Zealand closes down. The last one that closed was Smithfield in Timaru, and probably coming up 18 months ago. And what happens is stock prices go up. The processors got to procure it at a high price. They've got to kill it officially, and they've got to sell it at a high price. But it seems that is now the case in the US. Tyson Foods, which is the second biggest meat processor in the world, closed down a site in Nebraska, which killed 5,000 cattle a day, which was about 5% of the US's daily cattle kill. For context, it's like some plants would be lucky to do 500 a week in New Zealand. So we're talking a really, really big scale. And it shows just how short the US are on cattle, which we're benefiting from because we're sending a whole lot of lean cuts up to the US, which then get mixed into hamburgers and stuff. But Tyson Foods said they just couldn't run this plant efficiently, losing $1.1 billion a year on their beef business. You put that into context, it's like $2 billion New Zealand. And it's like the revenue of one of our meat processors here.
Why are they all struggling so much? I mean, as you said, the price is high, so they have to buy their product at a more expensive, but then they can sell it higher too. So what gives?
Yeah, there's no point in having a plant there if you can't fill it. So you've got to compete. If we're a meat processor, we've got to compete for that stock. You might say, well, I'll take that for that price, and you go higher, and then it bids up. It just becomes incredibly inefficient. And if you can't get the supply, and the supply goes to you, then I'm then inefficient. So,
Yeah, right, I see.
It goes south pretty quickly.
Okay.
And it plays out in New Zealand all the time.
Speaking of consolidation, we've got some of that happening in the wool industry.
Yeah, there's the wool industry, as we know, has struggled for quite a long time. There's quite a bit of optimism actually in the industry at the moment. Strong wool prices are over $5 at the moment. That's sort of tight supply and various other things that are going on there. But PGG Wrightson's wool did run an auction in Napier and Christchurch. They're going to consolidate that down to Christchurch, just have a single national auction. They say that it's a sensible decision to make, which and everyone in the industry thinks it is sensible. No one's going to lose their job from this. So and then it sort of comes after Wools New Zealand and PGG Wrightson's had worked together to sort of find a way to be a bit more efficient. And now Wools of New Zealand have said late last night actually they're going to go down to a single national auction as well. But the single national auction is going to happen in Christchurch, which sort of makes sense because there's an international airport there, efficient to get them in and out of the country, the buyers in and out of the country. Napier, you sort of got to transit through Auckland, I suppose, or up through Wellington. So it's just a more efficient place to do it.
Logistically makes sense. Now, it looks like the mainland Fonterra deal looks like it might be going to happen sooner than...
Yeah, the official line out of Fonterra basically all of last year was it would happen in the first half of this year. It's understood that Lactalis put quite a bit of pressure on Fonterra to get the deal done, to the point where the boss told Miles Hurrell over dinner in Paris that because he ruined the European summer negotiating the deal, he was going to ruin his New Zealand to get the deal done. So now they're saying they've made good progress on that, and it's probably going to be the first quarter of this year. So it could happen essentially within...
Why the rush? Why do they want it to be done so quickly? Just...
I guess when you're paying $4.2 billion for something, you don't want that in some...
You don't want to wait.
So,
fair enough. All right, Riley, nice information as always, thank you. Riley Kennedy, who's a Business Desk senior journalist. The time is 8 o'clock on Ryan Bridge today. Good morning and welcome to Ryan Bridge today. Great to have your company. Thursday, the 29th of January, on the show this hour. It's a game changer for parents with young children. A new study says it's now safe to give paracetamol and ibuprofen to children under the age of 1. The study's lead is with us in 5 minutes with everything you need. Auckland Airport celebrating its 60th birthday today. 500 million travellers have been through it. So what's next? We'll speak to the airport boss. And if you've ever wanted to own your own sculpture garden, bit of a niche desire, but there we are. Make sure you stay tuned. One of the country's biggest and best is going on sale in Northland. Only catches the price. Looking at the photos you can imagine, we'll tell you how much. Plus the UK High Commissioner is here to explain why if you were born in England, you live here, you might need to hold, in fact you will need to go home, a British passport. First Neva.
Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
The first Mount Maunganui victim has been formally identified by the coroner. Max First Key would have turned 16 yesterday. First Key was killed in the devastating landslide last week, which also claimed the life of fellow Pakuranga College student Sharon Mekaniko, who he was on holiday with at the time. Tauranga's state of emergency will remain in place until at least Tuesday, with recovery efforts expected to continue for days as teams of about 70 officers at a time dig through the wreckage, millimetres at a time. Tauranga Mayor Mahe Drysdale says along with its independent inquiry, the council will be putting documents online in order to establish all the facts. He says this includes a number of reports on slope stability. About 30 homes were also evacuated near Bay Park yesterday due to a fresh slip near a reservoir water main pipe. Motorhomes are on the road to regions thrashed by recent severe weather to give those displaced a roof over their heads. Associate Housing Minister Tama Potaka says 10 motorhomes were sent to Northland yesterday. Dozens more will be deployed to other weather-affected areas over the week, such as Tairāwhiti, Te Araroa and Hawke's Bay. Judith Collins says the one thing she'd change about her political career is leading the National Party. The senior MP's announced she's leaving politics after 24 years in a career that included 18 different ministerial portfolios. In 2020, she had a brief stint leading the party and lost the election to Jacinda Ardern. She says stepping up was the wrong move. She knew it was the hospital pass from hell, and her husband warned her, but she didn't know who else would do it. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the operation to seize the former Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro wasn't an act of war. Rubio's been facing questions from US senators about the operation, including why Congress was kept in the dark. He says he's confident further military action won't have to be used in Venezuela. Donald Trump is signalling that tensions could soon de-escalate in Minneapolis. The president's told ABC News the federal government wants to finish the job in Minnesota, but can start taking a more relaxed approach. New Zealanders' views on the housing market appear to be shifting from pessimism to cautious optimism. Cotality's Decoding 2026 report shows almost 3/4 of local respondents expect house prices to rise this year. It suggests the OCR being cut to 2.25% has instilled a feeling of stability for rates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
New Zealand have triumphed for the first time in the T20 World Cup warm-up cricket series against India, winning the fourth match by 50 runs after posting 215 for 7. Yannick Sinner is into the Australian Tennis Open semi-finals, his 7th straight Grand Slam last 4 months after beating Ben Shelton. 18 Champions League football matches are being played at the same time across Europe this morning. Only 4 of the 36 sides are out of the running for a playoff spot.
It is just gone 5 minutes after 8. Trump's threatening Iran again. He says an armada of warships is piling into the Middle East as we speak. He wants a nuclear deal with Iran. This, of course, all kicked off after the protests and then the executions. The protests kicked off, of course, because the economy is bad. Here's Marco Rubio on this morning.
I think regimes, including that one in Iran, have learned that when you start shooting people in the head with snipers, it's effective. I mean, it works, and they've done it, and it's horrifying. And that's what we've seen. That regime is probably weaker than it has ever been. And the core problem they face, unlike the protests you saw in the past on some other topics, is that they don't have a way to address the core complaints of the protesters, which is that their economy is in collapse.
Now, their big aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, same one they sent to lead the mission against Maduro in Venezuela, that is leading this flotilla, this armada, as Trump calls it, to the Middle East as we speak. And don't think the guy's not serious. We know now that when he threatens something, sure, he can back down, like with the terrorists, but also he can just go for it, like with Maduro. So who knows what's going to happen. The Europeans, the diplomats, they're all a bit nervous. The Israelis, they're very nervous because they're worried about what Iran will do in response to what Trump might do and how that might affect them. It's 6 after 8. Here's weather.
Herald Now Weather.
Good morning. Good news for the North Island today, with a ridge of high pressure keeping the weather settled. Just a little bit of wind and rain for the South Island thanks to a front. So that will bring strong westerly quarter winds to the lower south, with a few spots of rain, maybe some heavy showers this afternoon for Dunedin. It's not too bad for the upper half of the island, but there will be showers and strong winds moving with the passage of the front, mainly from late this afternoon. Now, the day started well here, but there will be a little cloud around, especially tonight, with possible afternoon showers for Kapiti and for Wellington. It's a lovely, warm and dry day out east. Any remaining cloud clears by midday, with Gisborne knocking on 30 degrees. Hastings, you will hit 30. And apart from a few clouds around and maybe an unlucky shower for Hamilton and Kaitaia, the day's looking good across the upper north.
Right time now is 7 minutes after 8. A landmark trial by the University of Auckland has found that ibuprofen and paracetamol are safe for babies to take. This is in their first year of life. In a development that could prove groundbreaking for people around the world, it rejects previous research which suggested a potential link between paracetamol use in the first year of life and health problems, something Donald Trump has claimed. Professor Stuart Dalziel is the lead researcher and joins us this morning. Professor, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So are people not currently giving their babies under 1 ibuprofen and paracetamol?
No, I think people are giving their babies ibuprofen and paracetamol. They're the most common medications we use around the world, either prescribed by health professionals or parents and families buying them over the counter. But what we didn't have was a lot of information about their safety, particularly the long-term effects, but also the safety from a short-term effects when it was given in the first 6 months of life.
What are the long-term effects then? And how long are the studies that you've been looking at, or the participants you've been looking at?
So what happened is a study that was led out of New Zealand in 2008 looked at over 205,000 children from 31 countries. And what that study found is they found an association between using paracetamol in the first year of life and later asthma. And that study has been replicated a number of times in many settings around the world. But all it's showing is an association between paracetamol exposure and the outcomes of asthma, eczema, hay fever. And so in order to definitively prove that, what you need to do is undertake a randomized controlled trial. And that's what we've done here in New Zealand. We've randomized 3,923 infants to only using paracetamol or ibuprofen in their first year of life. And what we're reporting today is the 1-year findings of that result. And what it shows is that there is no difference in the outcome of eczema. So one group was 16%, another was 15%, and no difference in the outcome for bronchiolitis. That was 5% in both groups. And also we report on the safety in the first year of life as well. And what we've found is that the medications are incredibly safe, and that there are no serious adverse events that were due to the medications when we monitor the children for the first year. But what we need in order to look at asthma and later hay fever, and some of the things that I think Donald Trump is interested in, is follow these children up long term. So we're following the children till 6 years of age, and we'll be reporting those findings over the next couple of years.
Because I think this is where people come unstuck, because they go, oh, Trump is just crazy, what does he know? But then actually we don't know what we don't know yet. As you've just said, in 6 years' time, when you follow up, when we get a more long-term view, at the moment it's just a year, could we potentially find eczema, as you say? Could we find, ADHD, I don't know, whatever else that is being thrown out there?
So, look, I think that's unlikely. I think it's unlikely that we're going to find a difference in eczema outcomes. When you look at childhood eczema, that occurs in about 1 in 4 children, but 60% of that eczema is actually present in the first year of life. So I think the study is incredibly reassuring around that. Regarding asthma, I think we actually need to wait until the children turn 6 in order to definitively answer that. When we look at paracetamol exposure in pregnancy, which is what Trump has been talking about, there's recently been a collection of studies where they looked at 17 studies across the world with data from over somewhere between 300 and 500,000 infants. And they looked at the outcomes of ADHD, they looked at the outcomes of autism, and they looked at the outcomes of intellectual disability. And what they found is no association whatsoever between exposure for those things in pregnancy and those later outcomes in childhood. So I think that should be incredibly reassuring to pregnant women, that if they're in pain, if they're feeling uncomfortable, that paracetamol is a safe pain relief for them to take.
Okay, so on the whole, just to summarise for people, because it's you can get a bit lost in the weeds with this stuff. Eczema should be sweet. We know for a year, we'll check in on 6, but should be sweet. Asthma, TBC, we want to know the 6-year result.
That's
and
exactly right.
Autism, ADHD, fine.
That's to our knowledge at the moment, that's exactly what we think.
Okay, Professor, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. Professor Stuart
That's right.
Garfield, University of Auckland.
My pleasure.
12 minutes after 8. Auckland Airport is celebrating its 60th birthday today but rather than getting ready for retirement, like most of us will be at that age, Why is Paul still here? That's the only question when I hear things like that. It's preparing for a major infrastructural change to keep up with demand. Joining me from Auckland Airport is Chief Executive Carrie Huri-Hanganui. Carrie, good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Happy birthday. Congratulations. What are you doing to celebrate?
Well, it's an exciting day for us, and we thought let's celebrate in a little bit more unique fashion. And this morning when we unveiled a Lego model that we had built that represented the 1966 terminal as it opened officially, and then what it will look like in 2029 when the new integrated domestic jet terminal will open. So it's a fun way to mark the milestone.
What was it like back then?
Well, in 1966, if you look at, had a handful of airlines, and in the first year of operation, 700,000 passengers. Roll forward to today, we have up to 27 airlines, and last year we had 19 million passengers. So just a little bit of growth.
Just a little bit, yeah. And what about, we know about the expansion plans. They are now notorious expansion plans because of the scrap that's sort of going on between you guys and Air New Zealand over the paying for them. But what will it, give us an idea, what will it like? What will the experience be like for people at Auckland Airport once it's all done?
Yeah, well, I think, people talk about, I'll call it the iconic green line that people need to walk between the 1966 domestic terminal and international. By integrating the terminal, that will become, for someone going on a domestic jet flight connecting through to an international flight to LA, for example, they will have less than a 5-minute indoor walk. There'll be huge modernization of our systems. You'll have a check-in that's digitally led, things like we're future-proofing for biometrics so that as airlines adopt that technology, it can grow and expand with that. So I would describe seamlessness probably being part of that. The build will add 26% more capacity for seats, as well as, as well as 44% more space for processing. So in short, that means more flights and faster queues.
We're just looking at the Lego being built now. Why, I think this is the original terminal here. Why Lego?
Well, I mean, honestly, who doesn't love Lego? The fun way. Although I would say, as a parent, if you've ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night, you might not love it at that particular moment. But it's a bit of fun. It's engaging for travellers as they come through the terminal.
Carrie, just very quickly, the big flooding that we saw at the airport after Cyclone Gabrielle, will that ever happen again?
Well, I'm pleased to say I am sleeping better at night. Last September, we opened the Northern Airfield, is what we call it. That's 23 rugby fields worth of airfield that will take 11 jets at any time. But below that airfield, more importantly, was 4.5 kilometres of stormwater network. And so we've built the resilience and very much some of that root cause that happened with that intense rainfall in 2023. I am confident of upgraded that system to avoid that happening in the future. But I certainly, my thoughts go out to regions that have experienced that flooding over the last week or so. It's whatever the region, it's devastating when it impacts you and your community.
All right, Carrie, we'll leave it there. Appreciate your time and happy birthday again, Carrie Huri-Hanganui, Auckland Airport Chief Executive. It is 16 minutes after 8. Confusion, frustration, this for thousands of Kiwis with British ties after new UK border rules mean that dual citizens can no longer enter Britain on a New Zealand passport or ETA. This is from the 25th of February, so it's happening soon. Changes could see Kiwi travellers turned away at the airport despite being dual citizens. Joining us now is the UK High Commissioner to New Zealand, Iona Thomas. Iona, good morning.
Good morning.
So, first of all, explain to us why this is happening, because it's obviously more expensive for Kiwis who were born there, for dual citizens. Why the change?
So we're making changes to the travel requirements for people travelling to the UK so that the UK can have a more secure border. It will be streamlined and digital, which will mean that the process at the airport, at the border when you arrive, will be quicker and easier.
Okay, how much does a passport cost?
So the cost of a passport is £120, so that's about $217.
Okay, and how often do you need to renew that in the UK?
Our passport's valid for 10 years.
Right, and is it easy to do? Do you need to go to an embassy, or does it need to be sent anywhere?
So all the applications are done online. You will need to send in photocopies of some documents, but there's no in-person element for most applications. It's all done online.
do you need to give your New Zealand passport over?
No, so you'll need to send photocopies of documents, but not originals.
Okay. And why is this the UK wanting to do this again? Why is it better for you?
So in line with steps that other countries have taken, the UK wants to make sure that our border is more secure and that we have greater information about travellers and about those people who are entering the UK, so we can make sure that anyone who poses a threat or a risk, we have more information about that.
Do you think that people coming from New Zealand might pose a threat?
So this is a global change that we're making across the world, and that's the motivation behind that. It will affect people in every single country, which includes New Zealand. Okay.
And what about the time delay that it might cause people? I mean, if you're just finding out about this now and you've got travel, shortly, it's only a month away. Is there a time lag? Is it quick to get a passport?
So we do encourage everyone to check their documentation and apply early. There are no set timeframes for passport processing because everybody's application will be different and have individual circumstances. But what's important is that people check their eligibility and their travel documents as soon as possible and apply early.
What about the children and descendants of UK citizens?
So if anyone has UK citizenship, they will need to travel on a UK passport. They won't be able to travel on a New Zealand passport. If people are unsure about whether they actually have UK citizenship, they can check this online at .gov.uk/check British citizenship.
It should be pretty easy to know. I mean, if you were born there, presumably that ticks the box. What else?
So citizenship depends on where you were born and also where your parents were born. So say, depending on how many generations it has been, there might be different circumstances. So the best way to find out, if you don't know, is to check online.
All right. Iona, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Iona Thomas, the UK High Commissioner to New Zealand. 8:20 now. Next, the panel is here. Sarah Henry and Tim Wilson talk us through the big stories of the day. Then after 8:30, News with Neva, GJ Gardner, our property segment for your morning. If you've ever wanted to own a sculpture garden, stay tuned. There's a big one for sale in Northland. The price tag will probably put you off.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Ready?
Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
Right, it is time to talk through the big issues of the day, 22 after 8 for your Thursday morning. Joining me, Tim Wilson, the Max Institute Executive Director. Good morning, Tim.
Morning.
Good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
And Sarah Henry is here, our Media Editorial Director. Good morning. Now, start with the UK passport situation. Apparently very hard to work out whether you're a citizen or whether you'll be affected just based on the last interview. But yeah, I guess they're doing it for everyone, so you just got to put up with it.
It seems like you do, and apparently Canada and Australia have a similar regime. I'm not saying if Canada you do it, it's a great idea, but it's to stop confrontations at the border. If you like, it does seem painful. Like if you've got, if you want to send your New Zealand passport in to get a passport, you have to photocopy your whole passport and send them a copy of that passport to obtain it. And then if you do have a British passport, you have to pay a certificate of entitlement for £500.
Yes, which is an extraordinary amount of money.
As opposed to $37 for the ETA for New Zealanders. So that my takeaway is just stop being a Brit.
Yeah.
Okay? Become a Kiwi. It's cheaper, you'll become nicer, and it'll make things a lot easier.
And no whinging.
Well, there might be
I couldn't possibly comment, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing more niggly than having to deal with travel documentation.
No.
And it does seem an added layer of complexity around that. And I'm not sure that New Zealanders or citizens living in New Zealand are really who they're worried about in the border security. But I get that you can't have one rule for a certain amount of countries and a different rule over here in terms of managing the logistics. But £500, once you convert the New Zealand dollar back that way, that is an extraordinary amount of money. If you're all of a sudden having to go back because family members have died or something like that, I feel for people in that situation.
Yeah. Now, Judith Collins, the Crusher, is leaving politics, which, right time, you know, she's going out on a high. She's been a minister, got a bunch of new stuff, redeemed herself, proved herself once again, and she's off. Tim, pretty combative, you know, pretty controversial, but no one, I think, doubts how smart, well-read and dedicated she was to her portfolios, right?
Yeah, and my impression and the feedback I've had is she was an excellent minister, and I'm going to miss being able to throw around the phrase Crusher Collins because it doesn't sort of go right with the Law Commission. And that sense of crushing boy racers' cars, it harks back to a more visceral, flagrant era, the sort of pre-focus group political era. And it's interesting, actually, because I think we're heading back to that era in a way. We're sort of post-focus group. So guess what? It's back to the future. Crusher Collins, she'll always be with us.
Yeah, she said about the eyebrow thing this morning. She just always been able to do it, and so it became a thing.
Yeah. One of the great things that we get to do within the titles that I look after is that we get to see a more human side of our politicians. And yes, she's got this persona of hard-nosed, crusher, doing all of that. But then she's also really fun and really funny and entertaining. And, you know, you can tell a lot about a person's personality when you do a photo shoot with them and how they react in that situation. Some politicians want to run the show. Some surrender to the process completely. And she just loved it. She was entertaining. She had great stories and smart. Smart. I actually own a jumper that she wore in a photo shoot because I liked the jumper so much. So that's my Judith Collins
tribute.
Jumper.
And extremely loyal to her staff, as I understand as well, that which is not something that typifies all ministers.
And championed women in Parliament, you know. I hope we get to the day that we don't have to call that out.
Yes. I was reading one of your articles actually this morning on, it's Now to Love, isn't it, the website?
Well, womensday.co.nz.
Oh, is it? And then it feeds you there.
Yeah, were you reading your own one, right?
No. I was reading the one about Judith, and it was about when she met David at university, her husband, now of 40. This interview was 10 years ago. That was 30th anniversary. And, you know, it was 1970s New Zealand. He was Samoan Chinese, and her dad did not want...
Eyebrows would have been
raised. Her dad didn't want a bar of it. They had to elope. Yeah. Like, he never sanctioned that, you know. And then you look at the Talofa and the flack that she got over that, and you think, man, people really understand.
That's right. There's a human side to our politicians.
Yeah.
And they need to show it more.
100%.
Well, yeah, potentially too. Now, this study on paracetamol and ibuprofen and whether it's safe for babies, for those under 1. Tim, do parents give their... Because I know there's Pamol, which is like the young ones, but do parents... I don't imagine they're like doling it out.
No, I mean, it's like if you can't, if you know there's something physically wrong with the baby and they're in pain, you'd probably, you go to the late night chemist and you get it, but then you have to get it back and you've got to get it into a syringe, then you've got to get it into the baby. Just pass the kid to mama and give them a feed, or I understand a tot of whiskey works quite.
So you didn't give your children paracetamol as babies?
Because one of our Wolfie had silent reflux. I'm pretty sure we would have dispensed it at some point, but he had a much deeper issue. But the question is, what are we going to do? It's 2:38 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Baby's screaming.
Yeah.
And are you going to get in the car to drive to the?
You don't have a cupboard full of it? I mean, I just literally cleaned out my medicine cupboard in the weekend and had bottles and bottles of expired Pamol in there from, when the child was young, because, you would do anything in that moment to try and ease the discomfort of a sick child.
Yeah, fair enough.
Getting it into them in the syringe is a different story.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's all good to do for now. It's only a year into the study.
What was it? Eczema and asthma. We'll wait.
So eczema should be sweet.
Yeah.
Asthma, wait.
Yeah.
Autism, ADHD, etc.
Should be fine.
As far as we know, should be fine. See, this is the thing, and this is where Trump gets his traction, because you can't be 100% certain, and you don't know the long-term effects. So there's kind of wriggle room.
Yeah.
But that's with any medication. There is always a risk of some kind of side effect.
But isn't that science? People, that when people say, "Oh, the science is settled," well, until there's some more science, unsettles the science.
Yeah, which is the point of science, right?
Yeah.
It can unseat itself and should unseat itself when something better comes along. Right, finally, property prices. Do you guys have any picks for this year? Because we've had a survey of real estate agents, those in the property sector, 75% think we'll see an increase. ANZ's just downgraded their forecast for this year from 5% to 2%. Tim, what do you reckon is going to happen?
Yeah, look, I think it's time of guarded optimism, but we're looking at what CPI latest was up 3.5%, inflationary pressures. Not sure about whether the Reserve Bank's going to up interest rates. What I was interested about in this latest survey was Christchurch. Christchurch seems to be going off, gangbusters, and I do hear murmurings in Auckland. Christchurch.
Yeah,
people want to get down there.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too.
Yeah, don't go. You can't.
Sarah,
well, you could do it remotely.
You could.
Yeah.
I suppose you could.
Why don't you call the show live from Pendleton?
Yeah, or Sockburn. Sarah, what about you?
Look, I think we're just going to tick along.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any dramatic spikes. I don't think there's going to be any dramatic lows. I think we'd all love it if we were coming out the other side. I'm not sure if we're quite there.
And depends on the geopolitical situation globally. But that's another story.
Well, Trump's about to do a big nasty on Iran, so look out on that front. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you as always. Tim Wilson from the Maxim Institute and Sarah Henry from Our Media. Let's get to Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
The first Mount Maunganui victim has been formally identified by the coroner. Max First Key would have turned 16 yesterday. First Key was killed in the devastating landslide last week, which also claimed the life of fellow Pakuranga College student Sharon Mekaniko, who he was on holiday with at the time. Tauranga's state of emergency will remain in place until at least Tuesday, with recovery efforts expected to continue for days as teams of about 70 officers at a time dig through the wreckage, millimetres at a time. Tauranga Mayor Mahe Drysdale says along with its independent inquiry, the council will be putting documents online in order to establish all the facts. He says this includes a number of reports on slope stability. About 30 homes were also evacuated near Bay Park yesterday due to a fresh slip near a reservoir water main pipe. Motorhomes are on the road to regions thrashed by recent severe weather to give those displaced a roof over their heads. Associate Housing Minister Tama Potaka says 10 motorhomes were sent to Northland yesterday. Dozens more will be deployed to other weather-affected areas over the week, such as Tairāwhiti, Te Araroa and Hawke's Bay. Judith Collins says the one thing she'd change about her political career is leading the National Party. The senior MP's announced she's leaving politics after 24 years in a career that included 18 different ministerial portfolios. In 2020, she had a brief stint leading the party and lost the election to Jacinda Ardern. She says stepping up was the wrong move. She knew it was the hospital pass from hell and her husband warned her, but she didn't know who else would do it. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the operation to seize the former Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro wasn't an act of war. Rubio's been facing questions from US senators about the operation, including why Congress was kept in the dark. He says he's confident further military action won't have to be used in Venezuela. Donald Trump is signalling that tensions could soon de-escalate in Minneapolis. The president's told ABC News the federal government wants to finish the job in Minnesota, but can start taking a more relaxed approach. New Zealanders' views on the housing market appear to be shifting from pessimism to cautious optimism. Cotality's Decoding 2026 report shows almost 3/4 of local respondents expect house prices to rise this year. It suggests the OCR being cut to 2.25% has instilled a feeling of stability for rates.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
New Zealand have triumphed for the first time in the T20 World Cup warm-up cricket series against India, winning the fourth match by 50 runs after posting 215 for 7. Yannick Sinner is into the Australian Tennis Open semi-finals, his 7th straight Grand Slam last four appearance after beating Ben Shelton. 18 Champions League football matches are being played at the same time across Europe this morning. Only 4 of the 36 sides are out of the running for a playoff spot.
Herald Now Weather.
Good morning. Good news for the North Island today, with a ridge of high pressure keeping the weather settled. Just a little bit of wind and rain for the South Island thanks to a front. So that will bring strong westerly quarter winds to the lower south, with a few spots of rain, maybe some heavy showers this afternoon for Dunedin. It's not too bad for the upper half of the island, but there will be showers and strong winds moving with the passage of the front, mainly from late this afternoon. Now, the day started well here, but there will be a little cloud around, especially tonight, with possible afternoon showers for Kapiti and for Wellington. It's a lovely warm and dry day out east. Any remaining cloud clears by midday, with Gisborne knocking on 30 degrees. Hastings, you will hit 30. And apart from a few clouds around and maybe an unlucky shower for Hamilton and Kaitaia, the day's looking good across the upper north.
Right, Matakana's iconic sculptorium is on the market. If you've driven past it, you'll know it. Sprawling estate has a vineyard, a restaurant, sculpture garden, of course, an extensive collection of art, and it could all be yours. Anthony Marinskoff is with us, PQ Property Intelligence CEO. He's the agent for the sculptorium. Joins us live this morning from Greyhound, of all places. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning. We're from New Zealand Forbes Global Properties. Just the underlying company is PQ Property Intelligence. But it was a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Now, Anthony, thank you for clarifying that, by the way. Tell us about the sculptorium.
Oh, it's an amazing place. It's just walking through. It's got about 14 kilometers of pathways through it, and every corner of that place is just you see the most astounding sculptures, the most beautiful artworks, and it's everything there. What you see is unexpected. It's not, you see like poetry, you see then outstanding sculptures, then you see a Picasso. It's not 1 minute there that is the same. Everything is unexpected. It's the second most viewed or visited place in New Zealand after Te Papa. So it's something very, very special going on there. And for someone looking for a property that's got both artistic and commercial aspects to it, this will be the top property for something like that in New Zealand.
So did you say there's a Picasso in the house? Does that come with it?
Yeah, there's Picasso's, there's Chagall's, there's Andy Warhol there, there's Matisse in there, and many more. It's an astounding collection. They've got over 800 artworks in there, which will be one of the bigger collections, if not one of the biggest collections in New Zealand.
Wow. So what's the art worth versus the property?
The owners have told me to be very confidential about that, so I hope you appreciate that.
I can understand that. So do we know ballpark what this might go for?
I'm not allowed. There's something, I think there was something in the Herald, that said something on the 20, but I'm not allowed to say that. They're looking for expressions of interest, and that's where we're at. So
okay.
They're looking for someone that will buy it completely or buy it in its parts or do a joint venture. So there's different options there for the property. So if someone says, I just want to do part of it and build a, like a luxury home development or a luxury lodge next door to it on the winery part of it with exceptional views right out to sea, that could be part of the equation. But they can also buy the art gallery and the sculptorium and all the artwork together as well. So that's a talking point to have with anybody interested in the property.
I've never actually stopped in there and had a look. And looking at the pictures now, I feel like I should do that. Anthony, it's absolutely beautiful. And what kind of buyer would be interested in something like this? Who are you looking for?
We work with Falls. We work very quietly like this because we've got a database, international database. We've one of the largest databases in the world for high net worth buyers. We were initially looking for offshore buyers. Now we've got especially with the golden visa, people coming into the country. Surprisingly enough, there are a number of people that are seriously interested in the property at this very moment that are New Zealanders and don't even live too far away. So that sort of surprised us with the amount of money involved for something like this, that we've got New Zealanders interested, and I'm very happy about that. We should be selling properties like this to New Zealanders, but we also entertain people coming from overseas, and from there we've got interest from the United States and from specifically from Switzerland and from Germany.
Anthony, appreciate your update on this morning. Thank you. Anthony Marinskoff, who is with Forbes Global Properties.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being with me. You can see that online, of course. Property news, thanks to our partners, GJ Gardner, this morning. Right, following the news of Judith Collins' retirement, Garth Bray dragged Sir John Key out of a bunch of board meetings to speak about the legacy of Crusher Collins. Have a look.
Sir John Key, thank you for joining us. You entered Parliament and entered Nationals Caucus in 2002 with Judith Collins. What are we losing as she leaves the House for the last time?
Yeah, well, we're losing someone that's given over 2 decades of to both her electorate, the National Party and the New Zealand public. And as you say, I came in with 5 on that intake. Myself, Don Brash, of course, Brian Connell, Sandra Gowdy and Judith. And so she's been the longest survivor of all of us and obviously had very many roles in that time. So, yeah, it's been a big contribution. 24 years, I think it's been a big chunk of her life.
Huge. I think 12 in opposition, 12 in government. Time to call it quits was what she was saying when she made the announcement. Look, she's well known as a hugely hard-working minister and a pretty capable one. Who can pick up that sort of slack?
Oh, look, I think there's plenty of talent always coming through, and there's no question about the backbench of any major political party. It's jam-packed with ambitious people who want to do well. So every retirement always brings a degree of celebration from the backbench who want opportunity. But yeah, they're going to be big shoes to fill. I mean, Judith sort of had a bit the sort of Margaret Thatcher of New Zealand in a way, and she played that role really well. I mean, she was an capable minister. She was tough when she needed to be, actually softer than people thought at times when she needed to be. To your point, very hard. Very well liked actually by the backbench. I wasn't surprised when she became the leader. But she put a lot of spade work into going off to various electorates right across the country, held by national parties, a lot of weekend work. Look, I think she loved the sort of tough woman image. Crusher Collins, she wore that moniker with a badge of honour. Like Margaret Thatcher, she wasn't always for turning. And from time to time we had our little run-ins. mostly when I had to ask her to step aside the 2014 election for a little sabbatical. But outside that, look, life and its politics, and it's a rough and tumble business. But yeah, I always thought she was an incredibly capable and competent minister. She was a conservative. I mean, she was completely opposed to me changing the flag, all those kinds of things. I mean, she wasn't afraid to say, that's my view, I think I'm right, and I don't care who thinks I'm wrong.
So 18 portfolios Judith Collins has held, and she was also New Zealand's first Minister for Space. I guess from where you sit on the board of at least one or more Silicon Valley companies, Palo Alto Networks among them, what has she achieved, you think, in that burgeoning industry and in that space?
Well, I think in the space portfolio, it's a rapidly evolving portfolio. And by that, what I mean is we've been going into space a very long time. But the commercialisation of space is something that New Zealand's played quite a part in with Rocket Lab. And in fact, in reality, our government changed the law through Stephen Joyce and some of the work I think Judith did actually to allow Rocket Lab to become the company it is today, to allow that technology transfer across to NASA and across to the US. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's ever arguing New Zealand's going to be the biggest space contributor in the world in a government sense, but in a private sector sense, it's had some real wins and successes. And I think, good on Christopher Luxon as Prime Minister for having a Minister of Space. No one else has done it, but there's been some real logic to it.
Judith Collins, she steps away as a Defence Minister who's just put through this Defence Capability Plan, I think, 15 years, $12 billion to sort of shake things up quite substantially. Steered that through, no mean feat. What does that take? And is there any danger that, with her gone, that it falters?
I don't think it'll falter, because I think what we're seeing actually is a little bit of a change in the viewpoint of defence and the importance of it. And I think to a certain degree, love it or hate it, Donald Trump's put a lot of pressure on everybody to re-examine whether they are doing enough in their own contribution. Secondly, I think a lot of that spending comes in around not just we've always had great people, but have we had the equipment to that? And it's always a tough one, because Australians feel that defence threat to a degree a lot more intimately than New Zealanders always have. So to be fair, I took it very seriously, but we never increased spending in a massive way. I think she became Minister of Defence at a time where it was trendy, if you like, to be putting a lot more money in. But good on her, she's pushed that through, and no one would argue that we don't need more capability. That sort of portfolio, police, defence, corrections, they all suited Judith's personality in a way. She did it well. She liked it. They liked her, I think, actually, to be fair.
How do you know when it's time to go?
I think that's a personal choice for everybody. I mean, for me, it was 15 years in Parliament, but it was, 8 years as the Prime Minister and, 10 as the leader, and it just felt right. And in Judith's case, of course you can hang on. I mean, is there much difference between 24 years and 27 years, or 21 and 24? Probably not. But I suspect she feels like she's got enough energy to do the next job. She's always been interested in the law. She was president of the Auckland Law Society. The Law Commission would be appealing. I think it's sort of that balance of having enough time left to do something different outside of Parliament, but having known that you've probably given it your best and given it your all. She probably knows she'd never be the leader again. That's just the nature of, it's not a reflection on Judith, it's just the nature of you've been the leader, you never really are a second time as a general rule. So, probably run a race, and pretty good race indeed.
And we spoke to Judith Collins live this morning. She said she had the best sleep of her life last night after announcing this decision publicly. She also said that she used to throw her hat in the ring to be leader of the National Party just to piss people off. She didn't want to be told that she should sit in a corner quietly. We'll have that interview for you in a second. To Mount Maunganui now. It's beginning to reopen after cordons put following last week's landslide were reduced yesterday. While recovery work continues and the community still processes what's happened, the move marks a small but important steps towards normality. Let's head to the Mount, where Bay of Plenty Sun Live journalist Rosalie Little-Crawford is with us. Rosalie, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Kia ora. Ryan, how are you doing?
Very well. Nice to have you back, Rosalie. Tell me what's happening there today. What's going on?
Well, we are... Oh, sorry. Just jumped down too. so many are actually feeling quite relieved amongst our businesses here, but also quite concerned too. So talking with people yesterday, there was quite a reticence to come back to the mount and just get back to our sort of normal. So this township, is very much seen as an enjoyable, fun place to come where people holiday, and we've actually got a Norwegian Spirit cruise ship in port this morning. I've just got cruise ship passengers have just come past now. So most Kiwis don't like to be, that person who's going around snapping photos and so on. It just feels wrong and distasteful. So there's been quite a reticence to come. But, Ryan, this is a town in grief, and we need people to just come back and be here and be with us. So many of the businesses are just encouraging just friends and family and come and sit in a cafe together, just be with us here. This afternoon, it's been really quiet, but we've got some vigils on today. So this morning at 9 o'clock, Tanya, I think Galaboski's invited the community together here just behind me at Pilot Bay at 9 o'clock. So it's 1 week on today since that landslide here at the Moau. So at 9:30 there'll be a karakia and a minute's silence just marking that moment. And the council are planning a vigil this evening in Coronation Park, which is right opposite the Himaimai Aroha Community Centre there. It's at 7 o'clock tonight. We'll have a karakia at 8 o'clock. So I understand many of the rescue workers, family members and community will be gathering there. Usually every evening there's a karakia up here at the Adams Ave site for workers and families. So it's pretty special tonight. 1 week on, everyone's going to be gathering in Coronation Park. And on Sunday morning, Rachel Bailey has organised a sunrise vigil at Tay Street, just back a bit further. We normally, Anzac Day, Waitangi Day, we meet at the cenotaph opposite Motoriki near Mount Drury. But she said to me that they just want to, out of respect to the family and the workers, just going to move it back down to Tay Street and have that at sunrise on Sunday. So I've been talking to some of the visitors here. Canadians are in an Airbnb next to me, and I said, what are you finding to do? And they said they've really found just the welcome within the town has been amazing. They know everyone's in grief, but they've just been feeling enveloped with love. They went and did some surf lessons yesterday, and when they got there they couldn't get over just the community gathered around them and just made them feel so welcome. So they're very much feeling very honoured to be part of the community here with us. And a few people commented to me this morning on Sam Uppendale last night in Parliament mentioned all the rescue workers and the victims and his speech in Parliament last night, not just for here at the Mount but also Welcome Bay. So that's worth a watch.
Yeah, it's nice. The more I see of the community there, the stronger it looks, Rosalie. And the way that people talk about the Mount as much as they do about their fellow residents there, it's quite special.
Well, Ryan, we've been through a few disasters. We had the Rena. Fortunately, no one died there. We had White Island. It's been a community in grief. Various times we've had Jack and then Hamish drown off here as well. So this is the first time though that I've seen that we've had somewhere to be together. At the Rena we didn't have a community centre. There's a big command centre over in Tauranga, and it's really special that people can just gather together at these vigils. After White Island, I remember we had quite a moment down in the port there, and all the cruise ship passengers came out and looked over their balconies and just joined in that moment. And I think these vigils are really important just to be together as the Mount community. Just come and be with us, telling people don't think about coming and having a coffee as some way of enjoying yourself. Just come with your family and friends, sit in a cafe, just
soak it in. Rosalie,
be together.
It's lovely talking to you, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you very much for that update this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care. Rosalie Little-Crawford, a multimedia journalist from Sun Live in Tauranga this morning. Right, after 24 years as a National MP, half of that in opposition, half as a high-ranking cabinet minister, stint as leader, Judith Collins, leaving Parliament, a new role, President of the Law Commission. I caught up with her earlier on the show this morning. Take a look. Good morning, Judith. Talofa.
Oh, good morning, Ryan, and talofa to you too.
Lovely to see you. Now you've had a night to sleep on this, because obviously you made it all public yesterday. Did you sleep well?
I had a lovely sleep last night, and I woke up bright and early, and that means I can come on your show.
No regrets? It feels like the right thing to do.
I have been, I'll tell you a little secret. You're not allowed to tell anybody. I've been thinking about that valedictory speech for at least the last year.
Did we were speaking last year about you had the vertigo issue, you had, it was quite you ended up in hospital and taken from Parliament. Did your health at all, force your hand, make you think twice about the intensity of the job?
Well, the great thing is I seem to now, touching wood and everywhere else, be totally cured of the vertigo. And but I think, really I've been thinking about it for over a year, but it certainly is important that, I look at the fact that it's 24 years. Seriously, I've had the most fantastic last term, great to go out in a high, and I just thought I've got more life than the old girl yet, but you know what? I don't want to be doing politics anymore because I've just done it to death.
When did the eyebrow become a thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I've always been able to raise one eyebrow, so it seems to be like, I don't know. It just does it. It seems to have a little life of its own. It may have a little, gremlin in there.
It's certainly got its own memes now. You can be sure of that. What will you miss most about the place, and who will you miss most?
I miss the people, I think. And, we actually, despite all the argy-bargy that goes on in question time and that, it's actually generally a very collegial. And, I just think people need to realise you don't have to hate people because you don't necessarily agree with them. You may think their politics is stupid, but no need for you to hate them. And I think, I personally enjoy my work a lot, but I also know at 24 years, I just don't know that another, 12 years in opposition, 12 years in government anymore is going to be better. I quite like the symmetry. My birthday's on the 24th, 24 years, looks good to me.
Time to go. Now, you said yesterday that your biggest regret was doing the leadership thing, but that doesn't mean you did. There's the eyebrow. But that doesn't mean you didn't. But that doesn't mean you didn't want it. We spoke to John Key yesterday. He said you were gunning for that. You wanted that job.
I think that's what he always thought. And of course, I end up every now and again when there are opportunities were primarily just to annoy people. Well, I just don't like being told, go and sit in your box, little girl, It's not me. So just for fun, I would, oh yeah, okay, I'll put my hand up. And at that time, to be frank, I was, and I got called to say, could you, by Amy Adams and the late Nikki Kay, can you come and do this? You've got to do it. And I'd just been saying to my husband, oh, it's great, I'm not the leader. Imagine if I was during this time. It was the COVID time. And the next thing I was, and it was, I have to say, it was soul destroying. It was really hard. But I am proud of the fact that every day I got myself up. I never, ever missed anything. And I just kept on going the best I could. And we did significantly better than we could have done, I think.
It was Judith Collins earlier in the program. Time now to talk business with our partners Forsyth Barr. The US Fed, as we had expected, is holding interest rates steady. Just had their meeting. Let's go to Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, also with Business Desk. Garth, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So, holding.
Yeah, and I guess game of two halves here. We've got his read on the economy, and then very quickly report as the press conference is still going, move to how's your battle going with the White House. He's the master Jerome Powell of sort of keeping it to business. So the numbers are pretty clear. He's saying, look, that they're seeing that job gains have remained low, but their unemployment rate has showed signs of stabilisation. So that's not a reason to be cutting any further. But on the upside, the inflation pressures are there. They were trying to draw him out on which one is more balanced, meaning like he's more likely to cut in March or whatever. he wouldn't be drawn on that. They dissented. There was a 10-2 vote on this, and 10 voted for a hold. 2 voted for a 25 basis point cut. One of them, Myron, the very Trump guy, and Waller, who's one of the 4 that's in the running, sort of was saying, hey, edge it down. Powell wouldn't be drawn either way on whether this is he's basically saying this is a good place to hang out and wait and see what the data shows you. He turned up voting in that today was Lisa Cook, who's the governor who Trump tried to sack, and the Supreme Court's trying to work out whether or not he's allowed to do that. And Powell turned up to that court case. He was asked, why did you do that? Let's see what he had to say.
I don't respond to comments by other officials, whoever they may be. It's just not appropriate to do that. I will tell you why I attended. I would say that that case is perhaps the most important legal case in the Fed's 113-year history. And as I thought about it, I thought it might be hard to explain why I didn't attend.
From there, I mean, they were trying to pull out, hey, are you sticking around as a governor after your term as chair is ended in May? You know, he's in there till 2028. He was like, I'm not here to talk about that. That's not the time and the place. Other people try to sort of start those questions. He's like, give it a try. He's really just trying to do the job of indicating where monetary policy should be setting, and he's not going to be drawn on these kind of comments. So
fair enough.
There we go.
All right, good to know they're holding. Garth, thank you very much for that. Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, which is coming your way soon. Now, it is coming up to 9 o'clock. Before we get there, I just want to update you on the Netherlands. So we spoke about this last year. So they had 3 months ago, they had an election. They've only just managed to get a government, and it's a minority government, rare minority coalition. So 66 seats out of 150, and you got some odd bedfellows, liberal progressives with conservatives, etc. Anyway, if they can't get a majority, they go to a minority. So let's see how long that thing lasts. Right, that's it for us for today. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoyed all of your emails and your comments. We will see you tomorrow here on Ryan Bridge Today.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.